Well, while we're talking about change and the election approaching in 2020, another hot button topic is Medicare for All. On Yahoo Finance's Adriana Belmonte joins us now for more on this. Adriana, I know you've been looking into exactly how we'd be paying for something as costly as Medicare for All. So how will we?
Well, first of all, we have to get an idea of how much it's going to actually cost, not just how to pay for it. And the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget estimates that it will cost about $30 trillion over the next decade, which is pretty similar to an Urban Institute estimate as well. So we're kind of starting to nail it down closer and closer. They laid out a list of options as a way to pay for this. So one of them is a 32% payroll tax. Another is a 25% surtax on adjusted gross income above the standard deduction, and then there's also value-added tax. There's a combination of approaches. So there's a number of ways that this can be done. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work efficiently, but these are the ones they see as possibilities.
Yeah, and it could be a combination of all those things as well. Maybe try and get some people to concede on some of these points, but others. But I mean, clearly, that's a lot of money. I mean, and just to pay for it. But then also, when you add on how much distortion effects might come from all these taxes as well, that's another big concern here. Yeah,
so I talked to one of the researchers behind this analysis, and he said that the 32% payroll tax, even though it's the most straightforward, it would also shrink economic growth by 3.5%, which, you know, just saw our GDP number.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah, so that's one of the possibilities. He suggested that, you know, a way to cut the cost of Medicare in half would be to take out non-core medical spending, so not covering dental and vision. He estimates that it would cut the overall cost in half. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but he seemed pretty sure. And then another researcher I talked to, he said that instead of just Medicare for all, why don't we just build on the Affordable Care Act? You know, fix the premiums, the subsidies, rather than starting from scratch.
Well, I want to talk about the Democratic candidates because a lot of them piled on Elizabeth Warren last time because she just said, I'm with Bernie, but she hasn't really laid out how she's going to pay for Medicare for all.
Mayor Pete being one of those, too.
That's right, exactly.
So do you think there was some credibility to what Biden and Amy Klobuchar were saying in terms of her being disingenuous, where she would have to raise taxes on the middle class to pay for Medicare for all?
I don't know yet because she still has not released how she's going to finance it. So I've been waiting to read that plan as well. But I'm very curious as well because I've been paying attention to what they've been saying. And I think it's interesting. And, you know, somebody else said that these candidates, what's going wrong with Medicare for All or the big problem is that these candidates are making too big of promises. Like there's a way to get the Medicare for All without these exorbitant costs that come with it.
Just a comment. I don't understand why they're going into this mess. The squawking in the blue states over the SALT tax deduction going away, and that's trivial compared to what you just mentioned as tax increases. Their constituency doesn't want them to be taxed. Who are you going to tax to pay for this?
And I mean, and you talk about Mayor Pete and also Joe Biden and kind of trying to break away from the progressive idea of Medicare for all, also trying to say that some people out there, left or right, are actually pleased with the Medicare, or not Medicare, the medical insurance that they're getting through their employers as well. So not necessarily everybody on board with this idea, especially if it's going to cost that much.
Even Biden, he's like, you know what, we're keeping Obamacare and just adding a public option.
Yeah. And one other thing to point out, too, is that, you know, one person I spoke to pointed out that there was going to be job losses. You know, there's people who work in hospitals. He said especially in small towns where hospitals make up a big portion of employment. That's going to put a lot of people out of a job. And same thing with people who work at insurance companies, too. So just more considerations.
I agree. I want to say, if you think of where Trump sort of surprised everybody, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the UAW is not going to want to get rid of their Cadillac medical plan.
Good point.
They're not. The unions are not going to support Elizabeth Warren.
Provided, of course, that they have that job still, and that's also key to what we just saw play out as well. As long as they're employed, they're probably fine with their health care that they're getting there. But Adriana Belmonte, thank you so much for breaking all that down. Hey, investors, Zack Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.